God created the chromosomes in male and female, and he gave the male two, X and Y, and gave female only X. And X and Y must mix in order to produce a male child. Mother-in-law, if you want to blame anybody, blame God or your son. I'm not the reason for no male child. Hello, I am Harry Agena. This is Sunday, the 14th of September 2025. As you can see, I'm not wearing any of my Texas cowboy hats because, practically speaking, I am in church. Yes, so I have to respect God. I don't wear hats in church, or men are not supposed to wear hats in church. At least I grew up with that, teaching from my parents. So anyway, all this to say that I am here with another edition of my Sunday medicine, which is not really, like I always say, it's not really a religious thing. No, it's more of a spiritually philosophical program, or philosophically spiritual. All that to again, all that long grammar, that big grammar, to say therefore that I just use this to kind of impart some little common sense from Harry Agena to some youngsters out there especially. It's not really, actually tailored specifically for youngsters, because some elderly people also make some of the errors that I talk about here, or have some of the problems that I talk about on my Sunday medicine vlogs. So yes, I am here with something to benefit especially women in Africa. Yes, this is very, very peculiar to the women in Africa, because unfortunately the male folk in Africa put them through a lot of pressure, unnecessary pressure, unwarranted pressure that they don't deserve. It's not what they pressure them with. It's not their fault. It's not the women folk fault, but the men, due to ignorance and male chauvinism in Africa, make women suffer this as if it's their fault. And then, unfortunately, mamas-in-law, who are also ignorant, take it to the extreme. They practically torture women in Africa who are married to their sons. I mean, mothers-in-law. Yes, they do. Why? Now, let's get to the topic, the issue. I'm talking about male child syndrome in Africa, in the African communities. I've done this before. Mind you, not about a week or so ago, I featured this in my vlog titled Agricultural Movies Reviews. The edition I did last week or so, about last week, I featured this topic. But like they say, when music nice, you have to play it twice, according to my Jamaican in-laws. Okay, so when something deserves attention, you give it attention more and more, very often, as often as possible. So that's why I'm bringing this away from the Agricultural Movie Review that I featured it last week. I want to now make it its own topic, which is to say that African people blame women for not having male children, which, according to biological and genetic information, it is not their fault. It's not the fault of any woman who doesn't have a male child. Women in Africa, you need to know this. That's why I say that I'm going to feature it today on my Sunday Medicine, because it is very important that women, because very few women, very few people know about this, both men and women. Really, very, very few people. Generally, in the world, even not just in Africa, in the world generally, it's not a majority of the world population that knows what I'm talking about here. But the problem that it creates in Africa is what I'm talking about. The fact that it is not a woman in a marriage or any other relationship, male-female relationship, when you have children, it's not the position of the woman to determine whether there will be the child born out of the sex you have is male or female. No sir, no ma'am. It is the function of the man to donate the sperm that creates the zygote that becomes a man. I repeat, it is the man, the gene of the man, the sperm of the man that has the property that produces male or female child when the sperm and the egg of the woman, meet to form a zygote. What am I talking about? Let's break it down. In a sperm of a man, there are two elements called X chromosome and Y chromosome. In the egg of a woman, there is only one form of chromosome, which is X. Now, when the man deposits the sperm into the woman and to fertilize an egg, the woman only has every egg produced by the woman has X chromosome. The male chromosome, the male sperm will either have an X chromosome or an Y chromosome. God made it that way, not woman. God made it that way that a man has two chromosomes, X and Y. Here is the breakdown. When the sex happens, the X chromosome of a man and the X chromosome of a woman coming together forms a female child. Yes sir, yes ma'am. And if the male sperm has the Y chromosome, as they say, opposites meet. The Y chromosome of the man and the X chromosome of the woman, when they fertilize, that's when a boy child comes, a male child comes. A male child cannot happen between an X chromosome from the man and an X chromosome from the woman. No sir, no ma'am. The male child only comes when the man produces sperm that has the Y chromosome in it. So that the X of the woman and his Y sperm will now form a male child. You got it? Unfortunately, too many people don't know this. They don't have this information. Okay? And so in Africa, where it matters, whether to have a male child or a woman child, that's why I zero it into African peculiarity on this subject. Because, for instance, I grew up in the US. All my children were had outside Nigeria, in other words. My first three children, or at least all my children were grown in the US, or are being grown in the US, okay? or bred in the US. Let me use biological term, okay? Now, see, my first 3 children are female. And guess what? Because of my American mentality, I didn't give a damn whether they are female or male. They are as important to me as 1 million male children. So it didn't bother me. I didn't make any effort to I must have a male child. No, because of my American mentality. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, sometimes, remember, there's no absolute in anything, okay? Yes, for certain, special reasons, sometimes, even in the US or any other part of the world, it will be okay for a family to have a male child as well as a female child. The difference in the US and the UK and Europe or the Western world and Africa is that they are so particular that there must be male children. And so it becomes a problem. It was my 4th child that I had a male child. Yes, my 4th child is a male, but God knows I didn't really give a damn whether that next child was going to be male or female, no? Because it didn't matter to me. It still doesn't matter to me whether I have male or female children. Because of my mentality, because of my background, my American background of growing up in a society where every child is as important as the next one. Yes, male or female. Your female children a lot of times are much more productive, are much more important, are much more good to them. As a matter of fact, the truth of the matter is, one good reason why female children are good for a father or a mother. A father, let me talk about a father like me, that I am. The reason why a female child is even sometimes more important than a male child is that when you get old, the guys are not as interested in nurturing their old parents as the female children are. Yes, that's a fact. The female children are more, caring about their parents when they get old. They are more particular about making sure that their parents have good environment, good everything. So it's not even, so sometimes you ask yourself, what's the hoopla about male children? Let me tell you why, it's so important for Africans. Okay? 2 things I will say. Number 1 is the lineage, family lineage. But this is particular in the patrilineal societies, patrilineal tribes in Africa. In other words, where the family tree is traced along the male, the fatherly lineage. Okay, but there are also a few matrilineal tribes in Africa, like Ashanti tribe of Ghana in West Africa. Female children are, in reverse, female children are more important actually than the male children, because their family tree is traced through the female gender, not the male gender. Okay, but unfortunately, there are much more patrilineal tribes or patrilineal societies in Africa than matrilineal. So in most African tribes, even my own Igbo tribe, especially, maybe I should say especially my own Igbo tribe in Southeast Nigeria, this thing about male child is sometimes annoying to me. Okay, now the second reason for that is that they have this. That's the one that I'm angry about the lineage. Okay, maybe I'm not so offended about a man in that kind of tribe wanting a male child that will keep on the family name, because women will always get married to another family. Most of women, and in Africa, also, particularly now, making it peculiar to Africa again, the issue of women getting married is very serious. It's very important. In the U.S., where my environment of U.S., you don't have to get married because you're a woman. No. A lot of women who tell you they don't even want a husband. Okay, when they want children, they will have children out of wedlock, and nobody's going to antagonize them or agonize them about, oh, you are not married and you are having children. It doesn't happen that much. No. In Africa, the reverse is the case. You have a child out of wedlock, you are in trouble. You are the gossip topic of the whole community. Oh, look at her. She had children out of wedlock. She doesn't have husband. They said she hasn't children. So it's a problem about getting married. Therefore, when a woman is age, let's say once she gets past age 25 or so, there's already a serious pressure on her to get married. All your mates are getting married. You want to get old in your father's house. What's wrong with you? Why don't you get married? The problem of that is that sometimes women now, just to satisfy that traditional rubbish, I call it, because this is rubbish. Remember, I am Afroscope, and the Afroscope promotes African culture, cultural traditions that are great, and customs that are great. Okay, but I also condemn the ones that I have problems with. So the issue of forcing a woman, oh, you are getting too old to get married, go get married, is terrible, because it makes some women go ahead and marry people that they are not compatible with, just to please the parents, especially the mothers. The mothers are so wicked sometimes about this. Oh, you must get married. Oh, why is it? I want some grandchildren. What's wrong with you? This. And I'm like, grandchildren, my foot. Leave the woman alone. Let her get married when she can. Don't push her into getting married to the wrong guy because you want grandchildren. And then send it to the male children also, the male folks. As soon as you are getting, men have it a little bit easier, because men, they are allowed to get at least 30, 35 before the pressure comes. But once you get to 35 and get into 40 and you're a man and you haven't gotten married, you got a problem. Your parents are already telling you, are you mad? What the hell is wrong with you? Don't you want to give me grandchildren? You don't want me to see my grandchildren before I die? Go get married. I'm not saying there's something wrong with getting married in good time. Okay? The truth of the matter is, I did get married early, actually. So that's why my children, you see, my first daughter, when she got to like 18, 20, when people saw her with me, they would think she was my wife or my girlfriend, because I had her early enough. So I am not condemning getting married early, but I got married because it was good for me to get married. I was in the right frame of mind. I was financially okay to get married in Texas because I was doing okay. My problem is when somebody is not even in the financial capacity to get married, you are forcing them to get married, and in a lot of cases you bring two enemies together, people who are not compatible. They get married, and that's where torture starts. And then they combine it with the marriage is till death do us part rubbish, and so they won't even let you get divorced in Africa, not easily, because marriage is till death do you part. You must stay together till you die, even if one is killing the other. That's a topic I already addressed in another series of blogs that I had parts 1, 2, 3 to 4. Okay, Afroscope.com. Go there, just Google, search the stupidity of till death do us part. You will find them, 4 of them, or on Facebook if you are watching on Facebook also. Okay, so all this to say that, again, dealing with the issue, getting back specifically to the issue of male child. I've already stated the fact that having children in Africa is already an issue. big issue that you must have children immediately, quick. You must hurry up and have children before it gets too late. Oh, come on, I must see my grandchildren. Especially the mothers, because fathers are not that as bad as women. Okay. And then if you're now a woman and you get married to a guy, okay, especially if that guy happens to be the only male child of that family tree, you are in trouble. They expect you to get pregnant the very first week you get married. 3 months later, they look at you, you are not pregnant. It doesn't look like you're pregnant. Your mother-in-law is already after your neck, after your throat, already wanting to kill, already suggesting to her son to go get married to somebody else so that they will have children. And then when you have that first child, what they expect is that it must be a male child, what they hope for, okay? Which gets me angry, because a female child is as important as a male child. And I've given one example why the female child is even more important to me as a man. I know that my female children are more likely to take good care of me when I get old enough to be taken care of in that way. So I value my female children just as much as, or maybe even more than my male child. I have only one male child. Okay, so if my male child is listening, no, I don't value my female children more than you. You are all equal to me. But I'm just using this to make a point how terrible some African parents are in pushing for male children. Yeah, in some cases, like I said, they want to make sure that their son will keep this thing, the family tree going, so that because of the fact that the female children will get married and move away from the family. So after the first child, which they expect to be, they hope to be, and pray to be a male child, and you get a second one, the first one is not a male child, it's a female child, and you get a second child, and it's still another woman, another female, you are in trouble in the family. Because you are not giving them, you are not trying to keep their family lineage going. You're giving them only female children that will get married away from the family. So you are in trouble. Then your mother-in-law starts giving you hell about having male children. That's why this vlog is very important for African women. You need to know this. You need to know that it is not your fault when there is no male child between you and your husband. It is the fault of your husband. Tell your mama-in-law who wants to torment your life that you haven't given her a male child. Tell her to go and talk to her son to create the sperm with Y chromosome, so that when he mixes with your only chromosome that God gave you, you couldn't create any chromosomes. God created the chromosomes in male and female, and he gave male 2 X and Y, and gave female only X, and X and Y must mix in order to produce a male child. So your son is the person you should go and blame for not giving me the Y chromosome to create a male child, not me. In fact, at the risk of being kind of blasphemous, but God knows what I'm saying, so God won't be offended when I say, grandma or mama, mother-in-law, that's what you should tell your mother-in-law. Mother-in-law, if you want to blame anybody, blame God or your son. Your son cannot necessarily control the chromosome that his sperm produces. So actually, go blame God, not me. I'm not the reason for no male child. This is very important for African women to know about. That's why I made it my subject for today's Sunday medicine. As you come back from church today, I hope you see this and use it against whoever wants to persecute you for not having a male child. Tell them you have done your own part. Your son or the man, my husband, is supposed to do the one that will make sure that there's a male child. You hear me so? You This is where I stop. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.